Back for more, eh? You big weirdo. I mean, I get it. Weird horror movie deaths are a blast and a half. You can make fun of them or secretly be really impressed by the creativity that went into them, especially when it's something so bizarre that it is a miracle that it made it to print. So let's get to it. The top 5 weirdest horror movie deaths, part 2. Coming in at number 5, we've got the Grim Reaper from Spookies. Or is it These Spookies? I can never remember. Spookies is a movie with weird in its DNA. It was originally intended to be titled Twisted Souls, but production difficulties and creative differences between the writer-directors and their producers caused a rift between both parties. A lot of the footage that was already shot was then handed off to another director who was to finish the movie on his terms. So there are 2 different movies here smashed together in a strange smorgasbord of cheesy horror. Half of it is a group of pals investigating a haunted house, and the other half is a weird mix of monsters and magic. It's hard to follow while watching, but if you know the tale behind its production, you can probably understand why. There are some great moments here with some lovely practical effects, but some of what happens goes way off the deep end. And for a movie that's all weird all the time, one would think that nothing could really catch them off guard. Once you're in the rhythm of the strange and unexpected, it's all gravy, but no. There is one death here that defies all logic and has been burned into my retinas permanently, and it has nothing to do with the fart noise creating swamp men in the basement. No, it's weirder than the man with the ventriloquist dummy and a t-shirt of his own face being lured into a giant spider's nest and literally being sucked dry. It's weirder than the cat man stalking the night and killing a little boy on his birthday. It's weirder than the pulsing, shaking grave giving birth to a reanimated warlock. Okay, it's so far removed from any sense of groundedness, it almost doesn't feel real. You could probably convince me that I imagined it, but then I would go back and watch the movie and see it again. It's real. It's an actual moment. In this feature film, comprising of 2 totally separate films, there's a monster that chases folks around a mansion, Scooby-Doo style. The monster looks like a statuesque Grim Reaper and carries a scythe. It moves slowly, but it'll pack quite a punch if it catches you. So when a small group of survivors notice that it's hot on their tails, they climb out onto the roof, which is a bad call because there's nowhere to go from there, right? But it actually turns out alright for them. The Reaper follows them atop the building and eventually shambles right up to the edge, falling off. It topples down and hits the ground with force. But does it get back up and jump to the top for a kill? Does it disintegrate into dark powder? Does it transform into a different, more agile monster? None of the above. It explodes. It explodes in an enormous dynamite-fueled pyre, and then they replay the explosion from a couple different angles, and not a single character bats an eye. They head back inside to go about trying to find their friends once again. Nobody seems fazed by the enormous fireball they just witnessed, nor the fact that it was caused by a monster that had no fire or explosion-based abilities falling down a couple stories, and then it's never mentioned again. Phenomenal stuff. Coming in at number 4, we've got Mid-Murder Bath Time from Slaughter High. In a movie that showcases a bunch of high schoolers almost murdering their dorky classmate for no real reason, you would think that whatever happens to them would be unexpected and violent. You know, poor Marty, he just wanted to experience the joys of intimacy. And also science. He wanted to do science. I suppose his chemistry skills do come into play with a lot of the kills in this movie, but there's one that really stands out to me as extra odd. Slaughter High isn't a movie necessarily meant to be taken very seriously. You've got all these old high school pals showing up to a reunion together and not thinking it's at all strange that they're the only ones who made it. They then find out that all the doors are locked, and instead of realizing something is amiss and heading home, they find an alternate route in anyways. And even more out of the ordinary, there's a single classroom full of snacks and drinks and everyone's lockers, like specifically their lockers from high school. At that point, it's time to hightail it out of there, right? But no, they're gonna drink the beverages of questionable origin, pick out on the snacks that have been left out for God knows how long, and see what happens. After one friend has their stomach melted from the inside out by a bad can of beer, everyone goes into panic mode. Of course, someone's trying to kill us. So what do? Do they leave? Do they stick together and face the killer? No, they split up and run around doing random for a little while. And worst of all, Shirley decides it's a fantastic idea to take a bath. Like, we get it, you know, you're covered in other people's insides. Being covered in that isn't fun, but a bath? Right now, in your old abandoned high school with a murderer running amok. Also, why is there a bathtub there in the first place? Most high schools have showers, sure, but like a tub that you can lie down in? Putting all that aside for the kill itself, Shirley hops in and begins to relax. This doesn't last long though, as Marty somehow rigged the faucet to spew acid. So Shirley gets a nice acid bath and is rendered down to skeleton form. So let that be a lesson to you. Don't take a bath at your empty high school after being lured in by a killer maniac. Coming in at number 3, we've got the stomach stabbing from Deep Murder. If you haven't seen this movie, I don't blame you. It looks bad, but go watch it, okay? You'll either love it and we can be best friends, or you'll hate it and I'll be forced to think of you as a joyless pseudo-intellectual. Sorry, there's no in between. It's one or the other. So there's plenty of weird kills in this Skinamax themed horror comedy. It takes place in a universe where softcore adult films are the reality and everyone lives their lives based on whatever half-baked stereotype they've been assigned. Once folks start dying in very provocative ways, everyone realizes that something is wrong. And after a few of these deaths, the surviving characters start acting really strangely. And just like in Slaughter High, a mid-murder bathing session is in order. This time there's no laying down in a tub though. But the stereotypical jock and nerd both head upstairs to take a quick shower. Once in there, the killer is lured in as well, and all three get lost in the copious amounts of steam produced by the hot water. In fact, the shower seems to get unreasonably large during this sequence, allowing everyone to kind of wander around aimlessly in the fog without actually running into each other. There's also some Austin Powers level masking of private bits until there isn't. Great work, team. But after all of this slow motion stumbling through the steamy shower, the jock just gets straight up stabbed in the gut. Nobody sees the killer though, so the nerd has to do his best to save his hunky pal. This results in a beautiful heart-to-heart as the two friends hash it out one last time. All while the jock bleeds out and also gets pee everywhere because apparently the killer also sliced his bladder. If it sounds like a really weird scene, that's because it is. Like, I'm really at a loss as to how to describe this effectively and still make you want to watch the movie. Coming in at number 2, we've got the Soul Pizza from Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Freddy is well known for his creative over-the-top kills and witty one-liners as he slices and dices his way through many victims. But as the series went on, some of the deaths got pretty ridiculous. There are some that play to characters' specific fears while being visually fascinating and weird, like the Roach Trap or the Roach Hotel. And then there are some that are just plain goofy. This kill falls under the latter designation. Freddy rounds up all sorts of hapless victims and somehow bakes their souls into a pizza. Not their bodies or pieces of them, but their entire personhood is now a topping on this pizza. This apparently requires taking them and making them into little head-shaped meatballs and then baking them into the ooey gooey cheese and then serving them up as they scream. I can just imagine the writers working on this, like, hey, we need a couple more kills to be popular with the kids. What do you think? Well, what if we made a pizza with some people on it and then Freddy eats the pizza? Perfect. And coming in at number 1, we've got Garbage Day from Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. It was either this or the kid realizing someone was getting eaten in Troll 2, and really I think this line delivery is just a little bit better. It's more demented, it's more confident, there's more gun, and I love it. I'm sure plenty of folks have seen this already, but it is worth rewatching every time it's brought up. It just comes out of absolutely nowhere and adds truly nothing to the plot of the movie, but boy is it entertaining. Garbage Day! Oh yeah, these are weird. Kills like this could make any movie worth watching. So, what'd you think of the list? Can you think of any weirder deaths? Have you seen all the ones that I mentioned? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more idealistic ones from the top 5 horror movies from the monster's perspective. Sharon Savage says, no, I haven't seen any of them, but now that I'm in my 60s, I think I can handle scary movies. I plan to watch them all, thanks. Make sure you chronicle your experiences. I'd be interested to see how a person who's gone their whole life without horror movies handles horror movies. RK7 says, the top 3 love of my life, horror, food, and this channel. Hey, I'm glad we made the list, although I think water should factor in somewhere. DMB Lon says, wait, I thought the greasiest killer was the greasy strangler. No, see, he's the most greasy killer. Greasiest is something else. Rockbell XII, oh boy, my Roman numerals are off, says, that makes you wonder, if a killer is faced with a killer, how do they view them, good or evil? I guess it's all about the context. Every killer has a reason for doing what they do. And Forewarned76 says it's not Dante allegory, it's Dante Alighieri. I mean, I can't tell if you're making a joke or not, but just so we're clear, I was saying that the movie is an allegory referencing Dante's work. I wasn't mispronouncing his last name. And that's all the time we have for today. I'm gonna go climb to the highest room in the tallest tower and just see what happens. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. It was either this or the kid realizing the trolls were eating someone in Troll 2, and actually they're goblins, aren't they? They're not even trolls. God damn it, what am I saying?